The Sumerian Problems. Did the Sumerian civilization really exist? Were they immigrants? And why is their language so unique? Controversies regarding the Sumerian people, generally called the Sumerian Problem, started almost as soon as their civilization was rediscovered. After almost 2 centuries of discoveries and interpretations, and the deciphering of ancient cuneiform texts from various ancient Near Eastern sources, the very existence of the Sumerians as a distinct nation is still questioned today by some learned scholars. Add to this the various theories about ancient aliens and mysterious teachers, and we have a veritable melting pot of beliefs, myths, and interpretations that defy logic. Many Assyriologists and Sumerologists, like Thorkild Jacobson and Samuel Noah Kramer, have contributed immensely to the unraveling and interpretation of facts from conjecture. They started to create a semblance of order using the conglomeration of information from archaeology, cuneiform texts, guesswork, and unsubstantiated theories. But even they had to guess and make assumptions. Discovering our ancient roots is enlightening and wonderfully exciting. One clue leads to a discovery, which leads to another clue, which leads to another discovery, and so on, almost like a top-selling mystery novel. But imagine that your favorite mystery or crime novelist suddenly ends a book without tying up the pieces, and with some crucial pieces of the mystery still missing. Without crucial evidence, and without enough hints to lead you further, you may check and recheck if you were right in your analysis and tentative conclusions. Sometimes archaeologists end up with just such a mystery. In the case of the Sumerians, the problem started from the very beginning, their very existence, their identity, their origin, their language, and their demise have all been questioned. Once most of the archaeological and linguistic fraternities agreed that a previously unknown group of people had in fact settled in southern Mesopotamia, modern Iraq, before 4000 BC, theories abounded. Scholars theorized, reasoned, and debated. Instead of arriving at a reasonable potential geographic location, questions and mysteries multiplied. The issue became several issues. The Sumerian problem became so emotional for some scholars that they attacked each other openly and personally. The media had a field day, and the scholarly war became in itself part of the problem. The truth is that a civilization that lasted for more than 3,000 years would inevitably have gone through deep changes, in social, political, cultural, and economic terms. It will have been affected by outside factors such as the physical environment, contact with and incursions from outsiders, and pestilence. It would also have been impacted by population growth patterns, cultural changes, habits, the natural diffusion of immigrant cultures, as well as thought patterns, religious influences, internal strife, and wars among city-states. How then can we define such a multiplex of societal epochs as one single civilization? Were the Sumerians rough and robust outsiders that took over an already refined and more advanced southern Mesopotamian society? After thousands of years of nomadic and semi-nomadic seasonal settlements created by hunter-gatherers, some settlements in southern Mesopotamia were settled all year round. From around 4000 BCE there appears to have been a relatively rapid development in agriculture, culture, and technology. Crops were planted using irrigation, canals diverted rivers, channels ran from rivers to crop fields, and furrows led water into the fields. A simple plow was converted into a cedar plow that could do both jobs at once, and could be pulled by draft animals. By 3500 BC agriculture was no longer so labor-intensive, and people could direct their attention to other occupations. Urbanization and specialization in the manufacturing of goods such as ceramics, farm implements, boat building, and other crafts led to cities being built around large religious centers by 3000 BC. Why and where did this burst of innovation come from? Various biblical scholars and treasure hunters have actively searched the ancient Near East for proof of biblical stories and to find legendary riches from ancient civilizations. Scholars and historians from as far back as Herodotus knew well enough about the Assyrians and the Babylonians. Nobody, though, knew that these civilizations inherited their advanced cultures from a still older civilization. Though the Sumerians were gone and forgotten, their legacy was very much alive. It had passed down through other geographic locations, and through social, political, and economic developments as empires came and went through the ages that followed. It was during the 1800s that astute Assyriologists noticed that there was a distinct and mysterious difference in the cultural legacy that preceded that of the Assyrians and the Babylonians. By this time, they knew a lot about these two major Mesopotamian civilizations from archaeological discoveries and ancient records that had been deciphered, including from biblical references. It was becoming clear that there must have been some astonishingly advanced developments before the Assyrians and Babylonians appeared. The discovery of Ashurbanipal's library at Nineveh and the subsequent translation of its texts revealed three distinct languages written in similar cuneiform script. Assyrian and Babylonian were distinctly Semitic, but a third Semitic script contained words and syllables that just did not fit into the rest of its Semitic vocabulary. This language was Akkadian with non-Semitic Sumerian phraseology interlaced. Excavations at Lagash and Nippur provided plenty of cuneiform tablets, and these were entirely in this non-Semitic language. Researchers noted that the Babylonian kings called themselves the kings of Sumer and Akkad. Akkadian was accounted for, so they named the new script Sumerian. Then they found tablets with bilingual texts, believed to be from school exercises. Although these tablets were dated to the first millennium BC, long after Sumerian as a spoken language had ceased to exist, it continued as a written language similar to the use of Latin today. Identifying and deciphering Sumerian did not solve the problem of their origins. The language is what is known as a language isolate, it fits into no other known language group. Instead of clarifying the origins of the Sumerians, it added to the confusion. Scholars have identified many Semitic names among the place names used by the Sumerians for some of their greatest cities. Ur, Uruk, Eridu, and Kish are but a few of these. This could mean that they moved into places that were already settled, or it could mean that they kept the place names given to these cities by their conquerors, the Akkadians and the Elamites, after regaining their independence. The Elamites, though, were also non-Semitic speaking people, and the identified names are Semitic. Another scholarly argument is that some of the earliest words from the Sumerian language are from the most primitive phase of their agricultural development. Many words are names for local southern Mesopotamian animals and plants. This may mean that the Sumerians were primitive immigrants settling into a more advanced culture, the ᴍᴜ culture. They then later adopted the culture of their host country and developed it further with more innovations. Another argument in favor of this hypothesis is that the Sumerian words for these above objects are mostly one syllable, whereas the words for more sophisticated objects have more than one syllable, indicating the more advanced culture of another group. Samuel Noah Kramer has argued that the ᴍᴜ culture in the region was already advanced when the Sumerians arrived. The ᴍᴜ culture, he posited, came from the Zagros Mountains, and amalgamated over time with several Semitic groups from Arabia and elsewhere. After the Sumerians conquered this more advanced ᴍᴜ culture, they and the Sumerians together achieved the heights that we now assign to the Sumerian civilization. Archaeological finds from the earliest levels of Sumerian civilization, such as the oldest Eridu temple structures, confirm that southern Mesopotamian culture is similar from at least the ᴍᴜ period right through the giant leaps toward urbanized civilization. There is no sign of any outside material in these earliest levels, and a lack of foreign pottery clinches it. On the other hand, some theorists maintain that religious structures like ziggurats appear in Sumer only in the late Uruk period. The time selected by the immigrant theorists for the Sumerian arrival in the already flourishing ᴍᴜ period of southern Mesopotamia. Ziggurats, they say, were built to resemble the places of worship they left behind in their homeland. However, they were obviously not considering the 17 layers one on top of the other identified at Eridu. The oldest of these dates back to before the ᴍᴜ period. Scholar Joan Oates has proved beyond doubt that there was a definite cultural continuity from the earliest ᴍᴜ period until the end of Sumer. The hypothesis that the Sumerians came from a homeland beyond the Persian Gulf towards the east has been floated on and off since their identification. This theory is popular with those who do not believe that the Sumerians would have traveled across the hinterland of Mesopotamia all the way to the tip of the land where resources are more limited. Another southern origin idea posits that the Sumerians were Arabs who lived on the east coast of the Persian Gulf before their home was flooded after the last ice age.